y'all need to know the difference between a shoe that's sitting and supply meeting demand. What's up, sneaky people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another video. And I know I am very late to the party, but we have one of my favorite shoes of all time, the Jordan 4 White Cement, back in probably the most true to OG form that we have ever seen. And we have the replica here to do our real versus fake legit check guide. And kind of like how my teaser mentioned, there's a lot of debate here on whether or not this shoe is sitting, or if this shoe is popular, or if Jordan 4s are dead. But I would make the argument, as somebody who is between a size 11 and a size 12, if I can't readily get a shoe in store or online, it's not sitting. So let's nip that in the bud. But we're not a channel that discusses resell and whether shoes sit or not. We are a informative channel. We do real versus fake legit check guides, and that's what I'm going to do for this. And before we get into this, remember you can find more pictures of the rep on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. There are a lot of things that I go over, but there are a lot of things that I miss. And it's up to you guys to fill in the blanks with doing research and getting as much information as you can about the replica so that you know what to look for when you are looking for your legit pair. So head over to that Instagram account to inform yourself. But with that said, we are going to jump straight in. I'm trying not to make this video too long because there really isn't that much to talk about, but let's jump straight in, and we're going to talk briefly about the boxes. And as you guys can probably see here, replica on the right, retail on the left. Just like in most of my Jordan 4 videos, you see a clear difference in the tone of gray between the authentic box here and the replica. This is much lighter, much warmer of a gray. This is darker, colder of a gray. Night and day. Always been the case. Reps always struggle with it. Why? I have no idea, but it is still a very good legit check indicator. And there are generally tonal differences in the Nike Air and the Jumpman and this infrared kind of color that surrounds the shoe. It's a little bit more muted and lighter on the authentic pair. It's a little bit darker and more vibrant on the rep. And that translates to the Jumpman on the cover as well. So I've done many Jordan 4s on this channel. You guys have seen these boxes before, so I'm not going to do too much work when it comes to the boxes. Just know definitely color differences like we usually see. So with the boxes out of the way, let's talk about the shoes. So here we have both shoes side by side. One of the things that I want to make clear is that my authentic pair is a size 11.5. The replica is a size 11. So there should be slight differences in sizes, but most of the stuff that I'm talking about should be the same. That shouldn't factor too much in. But here we have the authentic pair here, the size 11.5, as I mentioned. And damn, is this a beautiful shoe. Very well made. A lot of people complain about the quality and say that it's not good quality, but you know what? This is what a brand new Jordan 4 felt and looked like in 1989, I want to say, when they first dropped. So Nike is giving us true to form. The leather cuts are thick, as you can see. Not a lot of waste. Stitching looks good. Very well put together shoe, and while the uppers are definitely a bit stiff, I have it on good authority that these use genuine leather. They do have a polyurethane coat on them, which it is what it is, but they are still a very nice put together shoe. And when I feel the rep, honestly, just by feeling the shoe, it feels identical. Feels very close. I would say definitely feels a little bit like the rep leather has a little bit more give on it than the authentic pair, but it's still very much so same type of leather, so I can't say that the leather is wrong. They definitely feel like the same type of leather, same type of padding on the tongue, the same type of material here on the back tab. And it's actually, I would say maybe the authentic pairs has a bit softer of a bend on the back tab than the rep. The rep is a little bit more stiff, but nothing too crazy. Same thing on the wings as well. It's definitely a little bit more softer, pliable plastic on the authentic pair than on the rep. They definitely feel a little bit more stiff. So field test, more or less, we're looking at the same shoe. Side by side, I'm starting to see some little differences, some common things that we see with Jordan 4s. The main thing here that I'll point out is that you do see the speckled pattern. The authentic pair is a slightly lighter color of a gray with the speckle on it. And I have to say, because these were made in so many different factories, there are authentic pairs that do vary. I have seen that personally. I know that's the case, so I'm not going to call out the color difference as a red flag, but these midsole paints can differ. What shouldn't differ though is the white part here, the white part here, and the gray of the outsole. Now, this is something that I see almost across the board with replicas. The white paint that they use for the midsole is always off. The authentic pair is always a lot brighter, more vibrant of a white, while the rep just comes in at a slightly more off-white kind of vibe to it. I don't know if you guys can see it here, and it's definitely being accented by the fact that the gray that they use on the outsole is definitely warmer on the replica. And it's weird because even the blacks of the outsoles are a little bit different of a color. I say warm and cold all the time on this channel because that's how I describe these colors, right? One is has like almost like a yellow tint to it when the other has a blue tint to it. That's what I mean by warm versus cold. And even the blacks are like that. The black on the authentic pair is definitely a colder black on the outsole. Now, it's a super minute detail, obviously. This is not something that is crazy, and maybe as you wear them, it'll be even harder to tell, but DS to DS, definitely a little bit of a difference. We're definitely seeing a little bit difference of a color on this infrared varsity red color here. Authentic pair is a little bit more vibrant of a red, while the rep is a little bit darker of a red, and it sort of translates to the Nike on the bottom. Super subtle, but I'd say probably the biggest difference in color would be looking at the gray outsoles, and you can see that on the cap as well. Outside of that, we do have some differences here. It's really hard to pinpoint, but the back tabs are just different. The cement speckles on here are all just round circles, right? Of very different sizes on the rep, while on the authentic pair, it's a lot more varied. It's a lot, they're not just circles, right? Like they're not just circles on there. The shapes are just different. The color of the back tab gray is different. Everything about that is just a little bit more dull, and maybe the rep is just a little bit more transparent as well. It's hard to say, but the color just comes off so differently when you put them side by side. Obviously, it doesn't help that this has far less speckling on it than on here, but you gotta look up close. Definitely getting color differences. One of the things that the rep does correctly is that all of these paint marks, right, all of the speckles that show up on the back tab are supposed to be above the Nike. And what I mean by that is you can actually, they're a raised feature, right? Like it's like actual paint that's speckled on them. They're raised and you can feel them. And that is definitely the case on the replica, but definitely not as prominent, as protruding as the authentic pair. They feel a lot flatter. You also just look at the Nike Air. The spacing on the Air is different. The spacing on the Nike is different. The shape is different. And these back tabs ended up being a lot more different than I thought they would be. Anything that you would say is a huge red flag that this is fake? No, but side by side, they do look very different. Turning to the side, we're kind of getting the same vibe when it comes to the wings tabs as well. Very few speckling, all circular, all dots, all perfect, just circles in various sizing. But on the authentic pair, the splatter is completely different. It varies. It's not all circular. almost looks like on the authentic pair they splashed the black paint, and on the replica they took a paintbrush and they just went like this a whole bunch of different times. Definitely different. And as I mentioned earlier, the wings tabs are definitely softer on the authentic pair, so the material ends up being a little bit different, and they have different colors as well. I feel like the rep is a little bit darker of a gray, while the authentic pair is a lighter, warmer gray. Weirdly enough, the replica has the speckle black dots on the black part of the wings tabs on both. Hopefully you can see it with the shine. Especially right here, you can see it. The authentic pair has none at all. The speckles stop at the gray part. So it's definitely something hidden to look for. I don't see any on the authentic pair. All of the speckles are contained to the gray parts, but on the rep, the speckles come up. Yeah, you can definitely see whatever they were doing to get the black dots on here, it came up here on the black part as well. But they're not on the wing lace holders on the midfoot of the shoe. So that's interesting. Definitely something that you can look at. One of the things that I'm seeing is that there seems to be a color difference between the netting of the authentic pair, which seems to be a little bit more yellow when compared to the rep, which is a more white gray, and they kind of look different. The squares are definitely a lot smaller and more compact on the authentic pair. They're bigger and more, they feel like more spread apart on the rep, and the rep netting is like straight rubber. Like you can hear that, you can see it, almost feels like a rubber band. Oh yeah. And then on the authentic pair, it's not. It's a hard plastic. I shouldn't say a hard plastic, but it's a soft, malleable plastic. Very similar to what these are made out of, but for the rep, this is straight rubber. That's a huge sign. Outside of that, looking at the tongues, honestly, looking at the tongues, they look very close. You got a little bit of bleed on the back white part of the authentic pair, and the same on the rep, just a little bit. The reds might be a little bit different in color. I get more of a true red, varsity red on the authentic pair, and almost like a fire red on the rep pair. Outside of that, there's really not much else to look at on the shoe. You've got your air bubbles. It's hard to see, but whatever's going on inside the air bubble on the rep, it looks a little bit more yellow than on the authentic pair, and those pillars inside the air bubble are bigger and wider on the replica pair than on the authentic. So they're not using the same exact air bubble. So just a recap of the things that we saw, the materials are more or less the same. You got a little bit of color difference in the gray of the outsole and the black of the outsole. You do have paint difference of the paint color difference on the cement part, but it's not crazy because on the authentic pair, on other authentic pairs from other factories, there will be color differences. But when we really started picking up the differences is when we started looking at the netting of the rep, the back tab of the rep, the cement splatter patterns all over. Definitely very different, and the fact that you have splatter up on the black part of the wings on both of the rep shoes when they are not present on the authentic pair, definitely legit check signs. So they did a really good job of capturing the essence of the Jordan 4 white cement, but they definitely did some things different, almost like they didn't have an authentic pair on hand as a reference. Otherwise, there would be things that they wouldn't have gotten wrong that they did. And before we go into the blacklight test, let's just see if there's any differences between the hang tags. And there are. Clearly the rep is a lot brighter of an orange. The authentic pair is definitely more glossy and smooth on the tag than the rep. So we're finding a lot of good stuff that we can use to legit check. But with that said, let's shut off the lights and do a blacklight test. So I've never put a blacklight to these, so I don't necessarily know what to look for. So let's see. We've got some glowing on the under material underneath the netting, glowing of the air bubble, glowing of the material underneath these leather panels, some glowing of the tongue patch. That's interesting. Or the same. You get a little bit of reaction out of the Nike Air on the insole. You always get a reaction out of the tag on the inside of the tongue. So we are looking for the same things on the rep. Let's see what happens. Okay, so first thing immediately, the underlayer of the netting is way brighter, even though they both react, way brighter on the rep than it is on the authentic pair, for sure. This thing lights up like crazy. Next thing, the laces light up and are reactive. Not the case on the authentic pair. You do have the underlayer lighting up like the authentic pair does. That's crazy, these light up so much. Nothing on the back tabs. You do get some reaction out of the air bubble. Nothing on the bottom. Whew. So the tongue tag does not light up at all. But when you compare it to the authentic, you get a reaction here, no reaction there. And we should be getting a reaction out of the tongue tag on the back of the tongue, and we do not. And just as reference, this is what the authentic looks like. And this is what the rep, no reaction at all. And no reaction out of the Nike Air on the insole. So, holy crap, this blacklight test really tells it all. There are so many differences under the blacklight when it comes to the authentic pair and the replica pair. I was not expecting that at all. From the tongue tag to the laces to how brightly and more vibrant the underlayer underneath the netting, and then even all of the tags just do not light up, and the insole doesn't light up as well. So for those of y'all that needed a blacklight test, there it is. Definitely points out some things. So let's turn on the lights and end the video. So that was the blacklight test, and that kind of wraps up our video. This is a classic case scenario of how replicas are 100% replicas, right? They get the image right, but when you start comparing the details, when you start feeling the materials and pulling on things, you start seeing that, oh shit, this is not the same thing. It looks the same, but these definitely did not come out of the same factory. They definitely mirrored it enough. The materials feel good. They feel like the authentic pair for the most part, but they are definitely different. So with that said, guys, remember you can find more pictures of the replica on the Instagram account on the screen if you need more details. I will probably have more of the white cements coming in so I can do other batches and we can see head to head what is out there in terms of what's available. I'm not trying to see you guys get scammed, and especially for a shoe that Jordan Brand did such a good job of making available to a lot of people. Even if they sell out, resell isn't too big for these, but I do see them going up by the end of the year. So spend your money wisely, guys. Remember, these are 100% legit checkable. So with that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.